All right, I had a couple of days to kind of mull it over, to think about everything that was announced at the Apple event, and I figured, you know what, let me get in front of the camera and actually talk a little bit about it. I'll do one of these kinds of videos as well. Hey, it's Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? Here are my main takeaways from the Apple iPhone 13 event, talking also a little bit about the Apple Watch and a little bit of thought about the AirPods. Okay, this was originally supposed to be like a long-form podcast that was recorded over on my Amazon Live. It did start off that way, but I ended up just talking about most of the items that I currently have in the Apple lineup. If you are still interested in it though, I have a link to my live stream down in the description, but I also have a favor to ask all of you. If you click that link, you also will see a follow button next to my name over on Amazon Live. I actually wanted to ask all of you to try and hit that button because over on Amazon Live, the follow count is actually one of the main metrics that they watch. So it would really help me out if you guys follow me there, and you will be notified whenever I go live on Amazon Live every week. But alright, let's go ahead and get into my takeaways from the Apple event. I have a few to talk about with the iPhone line, also one for the Apple Watch, and one about AirPods. Note that I don't have anything for the iPads because I don't own any iPads or any of those particular products, so I don't have any point of reference. That might change come next week, so make sure you stay tuned for all of that coverage by subscribing to my channel. Okay, first takeaway has to do with the design. Apparently there was a lot of speculation that the iPhone 13 would get some sort of radical design change, but that's obviously not what we got. What we did get was a camera module that is now diagonal, and some new updated colors. And for some people, the new colors actually mean a ton. Enter a pink edition. And judging by my partner Isa and quite a few other posts that I saw on social media, people are very excited for it. I have to admit, even I am kind of feeling that pink color, but since I'm always using the Pro models, I don't really get to have those fun new colorways. So overall, things are going to look very much like the already existing iPhone 12 line, just with a bit more refinement and new colors. We do still have to contend with the unibrow frown up top here, but it's now more narrow and it doesn't cut into the content quite that much. I will ultimately call that a win. But I also call it a win that the general design remains the same because personally I still like it. The flat sides that have a bit of shine to them, it's a phone that doesn't try too hard to be flashy, but it's still about as recognizable as a smartphone can possibly be. I mean, that was the point of Apple's design after all. So even if we don't get much that's different by way of the look and the feel this time, clearly Apple doesn't think a big refresh is required, and that's a theme that you might notice by the end of this very video. Bonus point, iPhones still have insane support from accessories manufacturers, so changing the look is always an option if you want to change things up. Now, I know I will probably be coming into a ton of cases and accessories soon, and you can check all of those out via my Amazon live streams, so make sure you are following me there. Okay, one thing that Apple seems to be doing better is drawing lines between what Pro and Max actually mean. And thank damn goodness for that. Here's a mini retroactive rant. Last year, the iPhone 12 Pro Max was the phone that I almost begrudgingly got because it was the phone that was given the new, bigger, sensor-shifted main camera. And I justified going Max the same way I justified going for my first full-frame camera late last year. When it comes down to it, as a content creator, I want to have the best possible camera on hand for whenever the need to shoot comes up, even if the sensor in question is just marginally better than available alternatives. What's funny is that the new sensor, here's my iPhone 12 Pro Max by the way, what's funny is that the new sensor did end up only being somewhat better than the camera on the iPhone 12 Pro. I got both because I did want to see the differences between them, and I never did a video about it, but it pretty much comes down to this. I saw slightly better low-light performance, especially in photos from the Pro Max, and slightly more stabilized video. Nothing amazing to be clear, but the potential for phone camera envy was enough to make me actually get a Pro Max. This year, however, Max is less about the hardware and the cameras and more focused on what I think makes perfect sense, because if it says Pro, you should get Pro, and by and large, the same experience should be available across both Pro phones with only obvious differences, and it's those obvious differences that get the Max treatment. You get the larger display, the larger battery, and yet, those are things that I appreciate but don't necessarily really need in my daily smartphone life. So you get to max out if you want, but you don't necessarily have to sacrifice being Pro. Good going, Apple, and I hope you keep doing that moving forward. Now, I just went on that mini retroactive rant about the two different versions of the iPhone 12 Pro, but funny enough, even if last year's larger sensor shifting camera wasn't leaps and bounds better than the alternatives, it was clearly beneficial enough for Apple to make what they brought to the Pro Max last year available to all of the phones. And what a move that is. Even the iPhone 13 mini is getting this treatment, getting a camera that has sensor shift stabilization as well. So while that phone might not have great zoom capabilities, the vast majority of people who want to get started in content creation on social media and whatnot will have a good wide-angle camera, a good front camera, and now a pretty great main shooter. That's the reason why I tweeted this out. More than ever, the entirety of the iPhone 13 line could become the first answer now to the question creators like me always get asked: how do I get started? You see, the simple answer is always just use whatever you have on you, and it's normally a phone. But now if you have an iPhone 13, any one of them, you're at an even better starting point, and I think that's pretty dope. You might notice that I'm not even talking about the cinematic mode, which I'm still really stoked about, but it's a feature that maybe not everyone is going to dive into. Apple is trying to make it as easy as possible to achieve rack focus and shallow depth of field in their cameras, and we might end up seeing it more and more, to be fair. But it just further highlights how the hardware of even the iPhone 13 mini can help further lower the bar of entry for budding content creators. Okay, for this one I went ahead and put on my Apple Watch, so let's talk about it. We got the Series 7 this year, and the updates are more or less cosmetic. The thing is, that makes sense too. There is always speculation that certain new health features will appear in Apple Watches, things like blood glucose monitoring, of which I'm of course interested in, but that wasn't the case here, though we did get ECG checking and a dedicated mindfulness app. If you remember my Apple Watch SE video, and you can find it in the link appearing above and is found below, I learned in my use of my first ever Apple Watch why people really enjoy this wearable in particular. And with that in mind, I think that the Series 7 might not be a leap forward, but it's still doing a much needed step. You see, smartwatches have a few big problems: software support, bezels, and battery life. Apple already has the software support down. watchOS is already the most supported smartwatch operating system, so there's hardly ever been a problem there. But then, the Series 7 is now stretching the screen out to eliminate as much of the bezel as possible, addressing one of those main pain points. And then, this is probably my favorite part, there's faster charging, which I think is a huge deal, because with almost every wearable that I've used in the last couple of years, I've lamented how long I have to wait to charge up, usually in the middle of the day, since I like to use my smartwatches as sleep trackers too. Simply put, good for Apple, because fast charging should be a thing on all wearables. Okay, coming up to the last one, and like I said, there's a bit of a theme that what Apple already offers is quite good, so updates can be significant but arguably pretty small. The thing is, I know certain people were really waiting at the Apple event for any word on AirPods updates, especially since the originals are getting quite long in the tooth. Now, in the world of true wireless audio, I get that sentiment. If other companies are constantly iterating, why aren't the AirPods getting updates as well? I would actually argue that's because Apple kind of covered all the bases already. It's mainly because of these right here, the AirPods Pro, which at the time were pretty expensive, but now they've come down to a price of $179. Now, it's still a price that's a little high, but it's not very far off from the other offerings that are around $149 that have similar features like noise cancellation. You could argue that around the $99 mark, such features are starting to pop up, but I would say it's not considered a given yet. Even Samsung's own Galaxy Buds 2 added ANC, but still stayed at around $149. If Apple wanted to dominate in that particular price bracket, they could just add in ANC on the currently around $120 AirPods, get them as close to $100 as possible, and then just call it a day. But do we really think they're going to do that? Because the other theme in this video has been how Apple is drawing lines for Pro and Max. I think in the AirPods line, each of those words actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, Pro gets you earbuds with ANC, but then Max gets you a full-on pair of cans that I'm actually surprised I really like. Video on the AirPods Max will be coming soon, by the way. Of course, I could be wrong, and the AirPods could get like a soft announcement and a quiet release in the coming weeks alongside the phones. But even then, I don't know that they would really put so much effort into a new pair of the originals when it's pretty clear that Apple likes to take things step by little significant step. And for better or worse, that's exactly what we got, and yet here we are, and I have my pre-order for the new iPhones ready to go. Look forward to content on the new iPhones, and I just mentioned the AirPods Max by subscribing to my channel. Once again, I will remind you to please follow me over on Amazon Live, and you can look forward to hanging out with me there every single week. And of course, let me know what you thought of the Apple event and my takeaways from it in the comment sections down below. With all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and call it on this one. Thank you so much for watching. Please take care of yourselves and each other, and enjoy your tea, everybody.